So welcome back, dear online and offline participants, for a 5-day UGC sponsored online and offline faculty development program on outcome-based education, teaching, learning, and evaluation. We are very happy that today for this session, our resource person has traveled all the way from Chidambaram to address us to give share his resources in the field of paradigm shifts in the examination system. And that's Dr. V. Selvanarayana Garu, Professor of Entomology and Agriculture University, and also he's additional in charge as a controller of examination of one of the biggest universities in South India, that is Annamalai University. And we are very thankful to you, sir, for accepting our invitation within the short notice to share your resources. With your permission, we shall start this session, sir. Thank you, sir. And I request our resource person, Dr. V. Selvanarayana Garu, to come on to the dais to start this session. We welcome you, sir, onto the dais, please. Now I request the chairperson of this session, Dr. V. Munnaiah Garu, to come on to the dais to chair this session, please. I also request the rapporteur of this session, Dr. M. Hemalata Madam Garu, to come on to the dais to act as rapporteur. We are very much thankful to you, sir, for sharing some of the paradigm shifts in examination system to improve our outcome-based education, to incorporate into our college examination systems. Now, I request the chairperson of this session to continue the proceedings, please.
Good afternoon to all the participants of offline and online, and also dignitaries on the dais. Today we have a special guest as a resource person from Annamalai University, Professor V. Selvanarayanan Garu, Department of Entomology, Annamalai University. Professor V. Selvanarayanan completed his graduation, post-graduation and doctoral education from Annamalai University, Tamil Nadu. Under his able guidance, 5 research scholars awarded PhD and 4 research scholars are undergoing their PhD. He completed 13 major and minor research projects, and 9 major and minor research projects are going at present. He also presented 36 papers in national and international conferences and seminars, and delivered 75 extension lectures in different parts of the country. He published 4 books, 2 in English and 2 in Tamil. Then he published 14 book chapters and published 56 articles in journals of international repute. Apart from academic experience, he was also served as various administrative positions in Annamalai University. He served as Deputy Controller of Examinations, Joint Controller of Examinations, and Controller of Examinations. I certainly hope that the vast experience of Professor V. Selvanarayanan Garu will enrich our understanding of the paradigm shifts in the examination system. I thank my principal and organizing committee for providing me the opportunity to introduce the resource person. Now, I will take immense pleasure to invite today's resource person, Professor V. Selvanarayanan Garu, to start his session. Thank you one and all.
Very good afternoon, one and all. First of all, I would like to thank the principal of this prestigious institution and the organizing committee of the very reputed UGC sponsored FDP program. And I am much delighted to be part of this event. Well, whenever I get a call from our principal, I'll be much delighted to be here. I think this is the second time I am coming here to this institution. Almost before the pandemic peril has started, I can say just almost 12 to 13 months ago, I was here for an inaugural function. And after that, I'm here now to just share our practical experiences. I know pretty well that the learned participants are much well versed in academics as well as other allied activities. I'm not going to talk much about what are all the theoretical aspects, but I think it will be far better for me to share some of the problems we face in the examination system, that too at the current scenario. Well, I thank the chairperson for the nice introduction. And I hope the only thing why I am here, maybe because of the administrative responsibilities that I am holding right now, which I held earlier. Since 2013, the teacher within me is craving. The teacher within me is craving for what? I am out of my passionate profession, namely teaching. I am into administration. Hardly I find time to handle a class. That too for a PhD scholars or for postgraduate students, hardly once or 2 hours per week. But serving for the university and serving the students in the administrative position, I feel there is some pleasure in that. Just before the start of the meeting, when we had a small discussion right in our principal's chambers, myself and my dear friend, Deputy Controller, Dr. Shaktivel, who has accompanied me all along and who is going to share his vast experiences this afternoon with you. We had a small personal conversation where principal was asking, sir, after the pandemic, have you made any new changes in your system? And Shaktivel immediately answered, sir will share about that when he is giving his lecture. Well, the pandemic and associated aspects are very heavy. When your principal called me for this, my first question was, sir, whether it is going to be online or offline? Because we were more convenient now with the online system. Safe. I cannot say even convenient, safe. When I went to my vice chancellor and said, sir, I have to be away for 1.5 days, he was again raising his eyebrows. Are you going physically? Can't it be online? That was his question. This is what is actually the pandemic's effect. We were talking about the effect of pandemic on the economy, right from an auto rickshaw owner in Chittoor or a pilot who is employed in Indian Airlines or anybody else. It has caused its own effect. But what is the effect of such a pandemic into education system that you would have been more experienced? So how we go ahead with our online teaching and all these aspects. Coming to the topic which I have been called for. Actually, the topic has been so chosen because of my experience into examination system since 2013. As rightly said by the chairman, I served as Deputy Controller of Examinations for 2 years. Then I went back to my department to serve as head of the department, came back again to serve as Joint Controller for 1 year. And for the past 2 years, I'm serving as controller of examinations. This has given me certain practical experiences, and that is what is actually I'm going to share with you, not anything beyond this. So next, please, sir. Yeah, this basic aspect, what an examination system is. We want to assess the knowledge of the student. We want to assess the skill of the student, or so and so. Please. Well, coming to this examination process, I classify this into three categories. One is the pre-examination activities. The second one is during the examination activity. And the third, post-examination processes. Many of you are well aware, and I'm happy to hear from your vice principal that many of the institutions here again have gone for online registration portals. And our university, as said by Madam, is one of the universities which have the maximum student strength. For those who may not be knowing on the exact strength, our on-campus student strength in our 10 faculties is around 23,000. 23,000 students are staying in our campus. The campus expands in an area of around 900 acres. And our off-campus student strength, many of you may be knowing, and I'm happy to learn that the esteemed colleagues here are our alumni who completed their post-graduation or any other thing from our university. The strength goes around 275,000. That was the current strength, on-roll strength, including all the years, including diploma programs I'm saying. So just imagine around 3 lakh students we are dealing with. And our university was one of the oldest universities and one of the pioneer universities in starting the online registration portal for our students. Not very recently, almost 8 to 9 years ago. During 2011, we started the process, and during 2012, we launched it on a pilot basis. And from 2013, it is fully functional. Our students are just making the online portal. And we supported our system in both ways during those early periods, almost for 4 years. Since 2013, we had both offline, that is paper application, as well as online application. You know why the blend? The blend of both paper registration or paper application for examinations, as well as the online application. Most of our students were hailing from rural ecosystem and they were having a lot of problem in online registration. So we supported them in both ways. And since 2018, we have completely made it online and there was no paper application accepted. No demand draft, no check, nothing. And it is only online portal and including online payment. And we had a tie-up with the banking system and there is no extra charges for payment through either credit card or debit card or net banking, which some of the universities still facing problem. We could able to negotiate and the exact fee which we are charging alone to be paid by the student. This is the greatest success. And again, hall ticket downloading, we had the system where the hall tickets were printed by us manually, physically, and the hall tickets were distributed to the on-campus departments. And for off-campus program, the hall tickets may be posted. And we transformed this system. And now the students can log into our website. They can have their codings like the registration number, date of birth, all these things, and they can download their own hall tickets. And we are now going to the next step. We are trying to just send the hall ticket directly to their email ID or to the WhatsApp number. We are in that process right now. So hall tickets will be directly going to the email ID of the student or otherwise to their phone numbers. So this is what is actually the system in the pre-examination process. And I've just shared the screenshot of our website where we have all the facilities like choosing the subjects a candidate wants to register and every detail. Next, please. Well, the next process, the examination process. And well, we were more acquainted and so experienced with the offline examinations and the physical examinations. And I'm very happy that this institution could able to complete all the examinations as offline examinations, that is physical examinations. Today, I think the third semester and fifth semester students are writing their examinations. This is a great achievement, which we could not able to do. With the strength we have and the hostel facilities we have, we could not able to do because of the pandemic. So we went for the other method. But this offline examination has its own merits as well as demerits. It's easy for us because we are well experienced. If you ask me, I will say, sir, let us go with offline examination. There is no need for online examination. Basically, if you are asking me as an individual person, not as an administrator, as a teacher, if you ask me, I'll simply say, sir, offline examination is the best examination. We will follow all those things, whatever the government says. But as an administrator, if you are asking me, my answer will be different. I am a dual personality. This is what is actually the practical problem. And when we are going in for offline examination, even before the pandemic, I'm saying there were greatest challenges. For example, in our university, when we are going to conduct offline examination for a strength of around 20 to 25,000 students, even though we had 10 faculties and very big examination halls, every examination will be converging at a particular period of the year. For example, if it is going to be the odd semester examinations, it will be during November, December. If it is going to be even semester, it is going to be April, May. During this period, there will be a heavy crunch for the availability of examination halls. We may have to plan accordingly so that every faculty will have a slot allotted. This is the greatest problem. And as an administrator, managing our deans is the biggest problem because everybody wants to complete their examinations early and to leave the students on holiday. But from our end, we could not able to allot examination halls for them. This was the biggest challenge we face, physical examination, even before the pandemic. Then consider the pandemic period. Before the examination, as you see in the photograph, in a bench, 2 students can sit easily. But now, we cannot. That's the biggest problem. Next, please. So, the invigilation and the surveillance, these are all the basic requirements. Hope all of you are well experienced. And when I joined my university way back in 1993 as a faculty, many of our staff members were outsiders actually. They'll be from different parts of the state as well as different parts of the country. During the holidays only, the examinations will be conducted. The classes will be over and the examinations will be conducted. Many of the teaching staff will be having an intention to go back to their native place. And most of the staff members in our faculty, in my agriculture faculty, used to call me, hey Selva, can you take care of my exam invigilation? No problem, I will do it. So I'll carry my lunch bag. I'll go to the invigilation duty, the morning session, the afternoon session, both sessions I will attend for almost 15 days or 20 days without any problem because I was so fond of that business. And that evening, the run count, in the cricket, they will be counting the runs. Like that, we used to discuss with our colleagues, say, today I got 3 fellows. I booked 5 fellows. Oh, this fellow was keeping inside the collar. The other fellow was keeping inside the calculator. Like this, we used to find the malpractice doing people and we used to book. And during those periods, there was no CCTV camera facility and everything is manual. And we used to have such a healthy competition among the invigilators. I'm very sorry to say that that blend of approach is dwindling. Some of our faculty members are not fond of that. Though we have a lot of restrictions, this has caused that complete distraction, including the teaching staff who are invigilating, not only the students. This has caused a lot of problem, and I used to always see most of the staff members just on the veranda or at least sitting on the chair instead of just going around the duty. This is the problem which I am facing. I'm very sorry to say this. This is the real temperament as an administrator which I am facing. Right, sitting in my room, I could able to see the examination halls. From here, I will say, sir, the seventh fellow is copying. Ask the invigilator to go and book the fellow. So I have to send a person from my room to a hall which is almost half a kilometer away to say that in the seventh hall, the seventh fellow is copying. Ask the invigilator to book him. And the invigilator after that will come and say, sir, he was not having anything. This is a real situation, but the technology has come. But how far the technology has to be used? That's a real problem, right? So next, please. And from the student side, I can simply say this, the cheat technology, it has gone to a greatest level, which many of us can't even think. We cannot even think like that. Again, the mobile phones, the high-end watches that are available now, they are all being done very easily. My friend Saktivel knows about that. I have given the third point, help arrear students group. This was one of our practical experiences during May 2019, I hope, during May 2019 examinations. There was always the examination will be going on, and our team will be just going around the different examination venues. In each venue, there may be around 30 to 40 halls. It will be a big building or a faculty. Around 30 to 40 halls will be there. So imagine more than 1,000 students may be writing in one venue. So we were just getting a complaint that students are using mobile phones. And then we went, and in every hall, we were just asking the staff members, have you informed the students not to use mobile phones? They said, yes, sir. And when we're seeing the dais, on the dais or just near the invigilator, there will be around 30 or 40 mobile phones which are being kept. And this is the biggest problem our teaching staff are saying. Sir, are we a person sitting in front of a temple giving tokens for the chapels? You are saying mobile phones are banned, and all these students are bringing mobile phones in the hall. Can I place this and give a token to the students by their registration number or name? Is this my duty? We have staff members who are questioning us like this, and we have given them the answer. So we have given a very clear instruction that mobile phone should not be allowed inside. If they bring, it is their responsibility. If the mobile phone is lost, it is the responsibility of the students. Let them bear the consequences. This is what our instruction. And in all the halls, we were just seeing like this. And in one hall, when we entered in, and of course, Dr. Saktivel was the person who did the trick. The fellow who was just sitting in the last but one row, he was very busily writing without even just looking up who are all inside. Besides the invigilator, some 3 of us, the flying squad like people, we were just going around. He never bothered, he was writing. And whenever he hears the shoe noise, he just keeps his hands inside his pockets. Then Dr. Shaktivel grew suspicious, and he just went and he asked, hey, are you having mobile phones? Sir, no, sir. My mobile phone is there, sir. He is showing one mobile phone. See, you know, these fellows are bringing 2 mobile phones to the examination hall. Whenever our staff is asking whether you have a mobile phone, yes, sir, this is my mobile phone. The age-old ancestor mobile phone, which are the old model mobile phones, which they will keep as a showpiece in the front, and they will have the Android mobile phone in their pocket. They have created a group called Help Arrear Students Group. The question paper will be immediately taken as a photograph. It will be sent to the group, and the person who is sitting in the hostel, his senior, he will be sending back the answers. So that was caught by us, and it became a big mafia like. You know, the enquiry was conducted for 4 days. The enquiry for this was conducted 4 days. More than 45 students were booked, and they were debarred from the examination during that time for this malpractice. They have created a group, Help Arrear Students WhatsApp group. And everybody is just getting the information immediately, and they were writing. In all the halls, we could able to get more than 80, 90 mobile phones. They are all duplicate mobile phones. And the problem is whenever we choose that mobile phone like that, the mobile phone should not be given back to the student immediately. This is our protocol. It has to be preserved till the end of the inquiry committee. And every day, morning and evening, we will get those students coming and just standing like this. Sir, I want my mobile phone because my parents are calling. I said, without mobile phone, you will not die. Even if you are dying because of want of mobile phone, I don't bother, go away. This is what is actually the real thing students were doing. Next, please. And we had one experience like this also. Some of you may be happy to see the film Munnabai MBBS or otherwise Vasul Raja MBBS, where the hero will be impersonating virtually. And in the next examination, you will be getting the answers via Bluetooth device. This happened in our medical examination. And even such an examination in North India was become a big viral issue. It was transmitted in the social media. And how come the invigilators can look into the ears of women students, that too with the help of an instrument called otoscope. In a medical examination, the instrument what you see on the bottom is otoscope, to see the Bluetooth device that is available within the ear of students. So this is what actually the technologies support. For this technology, as teachers, we may find it difficult to know where it is available, where from to get. But the great God now, the omnipresent God now, you know what it is? Google. The omnipresent God is Google. Whatever information you want, the Google will give. Just next, please. If you just put it in the website, these are all available. These equipments are available. See, examdevices.com. This sells all the devices and the technology that you want to cheat in an examination. It's readily available. Such equipments are available readily in Amazon. If you pay $40, you will get such a high-tech equipment which nobody can identify. Whether it is going to be almost skin-colored earpiece and a button camera where the questions will be taken as a photograph and which will be going to a remote person, and where from through the earbuds the answers will be coming in. You cannot even identify unless and otherwise you have an otoscope to check. Will it be practically possible for us to have a strength of around 25,000 students and to have such a mechanism to identify? Next, please. And not only the earbuds or Bluetooth devices, such devices are now available in the pen form, which you can very well see. It's again wireless Bluetooth device in the pen format. Cost is $40. Amazon sells that. You can get it right in your doorsteps the next day. And they will give you the delivery time also. Within 48 hours, it will be delivered to you. So this is how the technology is now at the doorsteps of the students. And we should have more capacity to overcome this cheat technology. This is the biggest problem now the examination system is facing, even in the physical examination. Next, please. Well, once we experienced this, we installed mobile jammers in our examination halls. So this is one wall mountable mobile jammer, ceiling mountable mobile jammers are available. But I don't know how many institutions will have the financial resource to set up this device in all the examination halls. Even in our university, to be frank with you, in only 2 examination venues, we have mobile jammers. 4 of our examination venues are CCTV camera monitored, not the other things. Being a public funded system, a state university, financial crunch is the biggest problem. As an administrator, I know how much difficult it is to get a DVD replaced, because we need to get all these things recorded. If you have a CCTV camera, of course, it helps us in many ways, not only for cheating in examination, for other things also. But still, the cost which is incurred for installing all these anti-cheat technology devices, I can say, is biggest. Next, please. So this is regarding the pre-examination process and the examination process. So by somehow we are managing all these issues and the examinations are being conducted and we are having all the papers, physical papers I mean, and what is the post-examination process. So we need to go for valuing the papers, and we have huge scanners. The which one you see here is our FireEye scanner, where all the answer booklets will be scanned by us. The first page will be scanned earlier, and now we are planning to go for scanning all the individual papers. The first page alone, that is the page where the students is writing his or her registration number, course code, course name, everything. And the first sheet will be first scanned, and the first sheet will be teared off. And then the answer booklet without the first sheet, and the first sheet will be dummy numbered. Next, please. So this is what the process which we were following. So dummy numbered answer scripts we will be scanning earlier, and then these dummy numbered answer scripts alone will be given to the teaching faculty for evaluation. We have a centralized evaluation system, which is again CCTV monitored, and we have both internal as well as external system. So external examiners may also be called. They'll be coming for evaluation. So whereby we assured unbiased evaluation. In some of the programs, we have dual evaluation. That is one by the internal examiner, the other by the examiner. Some of our postgraduate programs, we have dual evaluation. And after that, the examiner, that is the valuer, he will be supplied with coding sheets, which will have the dummy numbers. Against each dummy number, he has to mark the marks that particular candidate has secured. He has to write with pen as well as with the thing they have to shade. It is OMR scanned. And the OMR sheets submitted by the individual paper valuer will be scanned again, and the scanned things will be decoded. The dummy numbers will be decoded to the respective registration numbers, and the marks will be directly entered to the individual's registration number. And after that only, the result data will be processed and it will be published. This is what our conventional system was. This system we were practicing for more than 7 years, since 2013, when the university came from a private management to the government system. We installed all those devices during 2013, and since 2013, we were following this system. Right? Next, please. And now some of the universities are going in for digital evaluation. Some of you would have seen this in the newspapers also, like Alagappa University in Tamil Nadu, Anna University in Chennai, and many other universities across the country. Now they are going in for digital evaluation because of the pandemic problem again. We could not able to call the examiners to come over to the centralized evaluation facility. They have to sit right at their home and they have to evaluate. So as I said earlier, the first sheet will be dummy numbered. The first sheet will be removed. All the individual answers sheets will be scanned, and this will be taken as a whole document, as a PDF document, which will be uploaded in the cloud, and the examiner will be assigned the number of papers that he has to evaluate in a particular day. So the portal will be open, say for example, from 9 o'clock in the morning till 9 in the evening. So within these 12 hours, the examiner has to value, say 40 papers or 60 papers, that depends upon the university. So they will assign that many number of papers to an individual paper valuer, and the paper valuer has to complete the valuation process online. After giving the password and all those things, he has to open and he has to value. And right, this has greatest advantages when compared with the physical valuation. One is the staff is not necessary to come physically. So there is saving of TADA. Again, from the administrator point of view, I save TADA. They cannot, it's not necessary for them to travel down. So whatever the valuation fee is per paper, if you are paying 20 rupees, the 20 rupees alone is sufficient. No need for TADA. These are all the other sides. But the problem is, in some of the occasions, the examiners, out of pressure, they may go for valuing in a different way. For example, for short answers, if you are allotting 2.5 marks, By error, if the examiner is allotting 3 marks or 5 marks, it will be very difficult for us to identify that error. And if the student is an average performer, he will be getting the average marks, wherein one answer will be given higher marks than the prescribed one. But in this digital evaluation, it is all coded. So for example, if a short answer, if the mark for a short answer is 2.5, if the examiner is giving 5, the system will reject. So he has to again rethink and put again 2.5 or 2 according to that. So such manual errors are completely prevented. And more importantly, it is not necessary for the examiner to total the marks and to put the total in the first sheet. And then, for example, like our system, they have to put the marks in the answer paper first sheet and also on the OMR sheet. So they have to write 2 times. Physically, they have to total it up and put the marks 2 times, which is also prevented in this system, wherein we go for totaling it up automatically by the system. So the software computes the total and gives the total once you complete the process of evaluation. And once the examiner reviews the whole thing and gives okay, the mark that has been assigned goes directly to the cloud server, which is stored on the student's page. So on that evening itself, you can process and publish the results when compared to the conventional system. This is the greatest advantage, and soon many other universities will follow suit. These universities, right? Next, please. Well, conventional system, and now what shift we need to go? The paradigm shift we are looking in for. I have coined the term E-cube, the era of e-exams. So we have to completely go for e-examination system, or what we call as the online examination system. And next, please. So these are all virtual exams or remote exams. Students are supposed to have software as well as they have to install the webcam facility in their mobile phones or so to say the laptops or computers. And this process is again time bound, as like your conventional examination system. It is completely audited or monitored either by artificial intelligence based proctoring or otherwise manual proctoring or by both. So manual proctors are available. It is nothing like the word invigilators has been replaced now with proctor. That's all. When we were doing physical invigilation, now we call it as proctoring. System is proctoring on one end, human beings are proctoring on the other end, or a combination of both that is being followed now. Next, please. So how a proctored examination may be, right? So a secure browser will be there, which disables the use of websites and software during the examinations. You cannot use any other website or software. And there are human-based monitorings, which locates their incidences of cheating whenever the students is trying to cheat. They are there to see. And artificial intelligence-based proctoring, which a human being cannot detect. Right? I'm just seeing the monitor from my office. I'm monitoring or proctoring the student who is writing an examination through the webcam. Whatever he is doing in his screen, I cannot see, but the AI tool can help. And there is multi-factor candidate authentication. The concept of impersonation can be completely prevented if you are going in for proctored examinations. And question patterns, as like the physical examination, where you can have multiple number of question papers, multiple types of questions. You can go for any type of question paper. And more importantly, there is data privacy and information security. These are all some of the features of the proctored examinations. Next, please. What are the advantages of this online proctored examinations? The first point is saving time and cost. There is no need for physical centers for conduct of examinations, right? Even I can take my own example. For ours, for the on-campus, As I said, we have huge buildings and faculties. We could able to accommodate around 25,000 students. But for our distance education examinations across the country, as well as outside the country, we have few programs which are being conducted abroad, overseas programs. For all these things, the biggest commitment from the university point of view is the money which we pay for the physical centers. For example, if I'm fixing Chittoor or Tirupati as one of our centers, and if I'm fixing this prestigious institution, I may need to pay for that per candidate, per session, 10 rupees, 8 rupees, like that. We have a scale that depends upon the city or the town and the institution that we choose. So I have to pay for that. I have to pay for the overhead cost, and the cost involved is very high when we are fixing physical centers. And more importantly, on the environmental point of view, I'm saving tons and tons of papers. And I have just given one example, again with our university. For one examination, the cost of answer papers which we are printing amounts to 1 crore and 28 lakhs. 1.28 crores is the money that we spend for getting our answer books printed, just for printing. Then you can think of, if I am transporting these answer scripts from Annamalai University to all the centers across the country as well as overseas. Think of the transport cost. These are all additional things. And saving time on manual valuation. Again, I have given within parentheses 25 to 35 days. That is the time we require for completing the valuation process for some of our programs, not all programs. Some of our distance education alumni may be knowing. Almost we may take 3 to 4 months to publish the results. For example, our May examinations will be over from May 19th to June 2nd or so. That's the duration of our examination for distance education programs, May 19th to June 2nd. And we will take almost 2 to 3 months to complete the process of evaluation and publication of results. It will go up to August or September or even October. So the manual time that we require for valuing the answer papers, we need to get the examiners, they have to come, they have to value, and we have a lot of restrictions. In spite of all those things, we may take 3 months minimum to process and publish the results. And all student information and exam papers are stored in cloud-based storage. So there is no need for physical storage. And Dr. Saktivel faces the problem how to dispose the old answer scripts. This is another biggest trouble, the old answer scripts. You know, we have all those things that are being administered by UGC. You have to go for revaluation, you have to maintain retotaling, and a lot of things are there. Imagine when we assumed charges, there was no stipulated rule in our university how long we can store the old answer booklets. Even May 14, May 15 answer booklets were kept preserved when we assumed charges as the controller of examinations or deputy controller of examinations. And we never had such storage facility. Think of 9 lakh papers. 9 lakh papers if you are storing, paper in the sense answer booklets. The space that we need was huge. And after we assumed charges, we just got permission from our syndicate that we will be storing answer booklets only for the past 3 examinations. That means 3 semester examinations, beyond which we could not able to store our papers. It's going to be a waste. Of course, it can be recycled. So we are supplying that to Tamil Nadu Paper Limited, Newsprint Limited, and they recycle and then use the papers. That is a different episode. But for this, there was a huge process. Because again, it's a government system, you know pretty well. We have to invite those people, they have to come, they have to take the capacity or quantum of the paper that is there, how many tons are there, then the cost will be calculated, then the whole thing will be shifted. This process will take more than 1 month or 2 months, and one deputy controller has to completely concentrate on disposing the old paper. This is the biggest problem, right? When restrictions due to physical presence of key stakeholders. Right now, I said, I'm happy to learn that this institution has conducted physical examinations completely. And it is not possible for us. It definitely it may not be possible for us. We have students who are coming from African countries. We have students who are coming from Northeast India, and we have to provide hostel facilities for them, which may not at all be possible during this pandemic period. And hence, we need to go for only online examinations. Next. And once we go for these proctored examinations, your reach is very heavy. And before the pandemic, my mindset was to close the overseas programs in our university. I was suggesting our Vice Chancellor as well as the Registrar and the Directorate of Distance Education to close the overseas programs because it was difficult for us to send examiners across the country, across the globe to conduct examinations in different centers, which was huge cost consuming, time consuming, a lot of problems. But if you ask me now, if I am going to have such proctored examinations, my reach goes beyond anything. We were concentrating most on Mediterranean region as well as Southeast Asia. But I can say now we can go across the globe and even we can conduct examinations in African countries. Very well we can conduct. That's the greatest advantage, and we can uphold quality and also reporting. This is the greatest thing with reference to this FDP, outcome-based education. And in the last couple of days, you would have heard much about this. How best you could able to do the outcome-based education, how you can map the CO and PO with the marking. So this sort of proctored examinations and digital evaluation can help to get the mapping done very easily when compared to your physical evaluation. So physical evaluation in the sense, most of the examiners will be giving only the total. And you have to physically take up the answer booklets. You have to see how much he has secured in the objective type questions, how much he has secured in the descriptive type questions. And if you are using Bloom's taxonomy, and if you have all the 4 or 5 levels, for each level, how much was the student's performance, how they came out, and accordingly, you have to go for a final conclusion, which will take much of our time. But if you go for such proctored examinations and digital evaluation, this mapping process will be easy and enhanced credibility through advanced proctoring, both AI and manual proctoring. Of course, I have my own reservations for the last point, though I said this as one of the advantages of proctored examinations. I have my own personal reservations. Next, please. So we take one example, a case study. You would have heard of one institute by name Army Institute of Fashion and Design, Army Institute of Hotel Management in Bangalore, which is one of the reputed institutions with regard to fashion design as well as in hotel management. It's maintained by Army Welfare Society. This institution is affiliated to Bangalore University, and the number of seats are much restricted. Per annum, they admit around 60 students in fashion and design and 60 students in hotel management. And they will get more than 40,000 or 30,000 students appearing for the entrance examination. Such was the competition for this institution. But not much known. Many of you may not be knowing about this because it's not like an IIT or IIM or Indian Institute of Science. But this institution has such a great reputation, and they conduct online examination. I have just gone through the instructions which they have given to the students. Next, please. Yes, you can go through. What are the requirements the students or the candidates who are taking up the examination should possess? If they are using computers and laptops, they should have Windows or laptop with a webcam and valid sound card. Valid sound card. So most of your old PCs are not useful. They are obsolete. And minimum i3 processor and at least 2 GB RAM. Internet speed of 1 Mbps or more. You cannot use your phone, mobile phone's hotspot. and latest Chrome or Firefox or Explorer. These are all the needs if you are using a computer. If you are going in for mobile phone, next please. If you are using Android mobile phone or tabs, mobile or tab with front camera. Again, this is a rare thing. Android OS version 6 or above with 1 GB RAM and an active 4G connection with a speed of 1 Mbps or more. And more importantly, during the entire examination period, the mobile should not be moved anywhere. If you are placing it on one place and if it is viewing the examinee, he has to simply sit like an idle and he has to write. He cannot even just move this way or that way. The phone cannot be moved here and there. Then you will be treated as malpractice. Right? Next, please. And during the examination, what are all the things a students need to maintain? No disconnection of network or power failure. Institution will not be responsible for loss of time due to malfunction of computer or software or hardware or connectivity or power failure. For anything, I am not responsible. The candidates are responsible. Whatever goes off. So you can very well see how the institution disowns. From the student's point of view, if you are looking in, this is the biggest problem. And they use artificial intelligence to detect and record facial emotions, even the pupil movement, your eye movement. If the student is just moving this way or that way, he is distracted. So it is being recorded as malpractice. He will be disqualified. In the sense, he cannot just turn back. That's what I said. Like a statue. For the entire 3 hours of the examination, he has to sit like a statue, just see the screen, and he has to write the examination. And remote proctoring as well as manual proctoring, these are all the instructions that are given by this institution. Then think of the real problems the student community may face. Next, please. Right, now I am coming to this point, whether we are going in for this e-examination or not, whether it is going to be an advantage or disadvantage. The first point, how many of our students will be affordable for computers or the latest Android phones? This is a real problem. Even in the personal discussion we had before this lecture, we were discussing about the pandemic. Many of our own students in the university, they could not able to pay their examination fees. I'm not asking for the tuition fees. I'm asking for the examination fees. This may come around 1,200 rupees or 1,500 rupees according to the program, maximum. Only for MBA programs, it may be little high. For all other programs, around 1,200 to 1,500 rupees will be the examination fee per semester. Many of our students could not able to pay. I had one student who came to us and I asked him, why you had not paid the examination fee? Now you are coming and asking that your paper has to be valued and your results has to be declared. He simply said, sir, my parents are daily wage laborers, so no job because of the pandemic. And I am just going to a petrol bunk for sweeping the floor. They are paying me 50 rupees per day. And that 50 rupees is the money that is being used for feeding 3 of us. On most days, we will be going hungry. This is what is actually the real condition of many of the students who are hailing from rural areas. In such conditions, asking them to own a computer or a mobile phone is very, very difficult. This is the real problem we face. I don't know about some of the reputed institutions like IIT or IIM, but for a state university like ours, this is the biggest problem our student community is facing. And hence, we are much reluctant to go for online examinations. And right, the internet connectivity, you know pretty well, though we say it is our digital India, still we have to go a long way to get uninterrupted internet connectivity as well as uninterrupted power supply. You would have seen when the pandemic was prevailing in the early stage, almost 1 year ago, I used to see some of the funny videos in the WhatsApp. A conversation between a teacher who is conducting online class and a student. And the teacher is calling the student, hey fellow, are you inside the class coming? Madam, signal is poor, signal is poor. Just come to the place wherever the signal is. And this is a video. Finally, when I'm seeing this, the fellow was sitting on a cemetery. Madam, only here the signal is coming. This is what is actually the real problem. How our students will be finding it difficult to get net connectivity and the expertise that is needed from the stakeholders' point of view. That is both the students as well as the conducting persons. Whenever we are going to conduct examinations, I should be a master in all these proctoring processes, which many of us may not know. And the institution's financial resources to build a robust e-examination system. When I said 1.28 crores is the amount that we spend for 9 lakh papers, I could able to see few eyebrows rising. Oh, Annamalai University is spending 1.28 crores. Just imagine if I am going in for such an e-examination system, a single app, or so to say, the software for around 10,000 students will be almost a crore. And some of you may be knowing Annamalai University has been selected to conduct the state level eligibility test for the next 3 years. UGC has approved and our state government has given us the privilege of conducting the state level eligibility test for college teachers. So all postgraduate students can appear. And we assume that more than 50 to 55,000 students may appear this time. When we approached TCS Ion, the big company who is well versed in conducting online examinations, the amount they charged, as I said, for 10,000 students, they were asking us more than 1.5 crores. 10,000 students, 1.5 crores. Just you can multiply that for 50,000 students. And we just dropped the idea of online examination because I cannot charge this on the candidates. You know why? When we had the accreditation committee from UGC, the earlier examination, we charged 1,000 rupees for one examination, that is the screening examination. Because of the cost factors and other things, we proposed 2,000 rupees as a fee for set examination per candidate. The UGC accreditation committee was not at all approving us. How come you could able to go for doubling the cost? You are putting the burden on the students. You should not. And still we are fighting with them to get that 2,000 rupees approved. Definitely it will be going more than that. For physical examination, I mean, if I am going in for online examination, I have to necessarily charge that from the candidates. Institution cannot bear that. This is what actually the problem. Either you should have your own inbuilt software if you are a very high-tech institution like IIT or few private institutions. But for many of the state universities, inbuilt systems are not available. So you have to go for outsourcing, and that is the biggest problem. And coming for the output, how far the online system will be accepted by the employers, especially in the skill sectors. This is a big question. This is $1 million question. Many of us may not be knowing now because we are coming out with the first batch now with the online system, that too in few universities. How far they will be well versed in the skill. And again, some of the social media postings you may be knowing. A small boy who is weighing a little quantity of sugar, say 1 kg of sugar is just weighing in a grocery shop. He'll be having a small cup. He'll be just taking the cup. He will keep it on the weighing scale. And again, he'll be putting some more. He'll be putting some more from here and there. And the comment will be going like this: person who passed during online examinations. So to say how much they have the skill. And this is the biggest problem because skill is much needed now. Skill development sector is one which is being promoted by UGC. And if you lose the skill, that is gone. Right? We used to always say in Tamil, there is a proverb, Chittiramum Kaipalakam, Sendamidum Napalakam, we used to say. That means for art of painting or drawing, whenever you practice the painting art will improve. If you are well versed in explanation, you have to practice many a time. So if you don't have the practice, you cannot. Even we used to say about one mythological story, the story of Indra, the god Indra, right? He cursed a village. So there was no rain in the village. It's a small story. There was no rain in the particular village. So everybody was worrying and they were thinking that we need to pray to God. And one farmer, without asking for anything, every day morning he used to go to the village, to field, he will be plowing the field. And people were commenting on that fellow, virtually sarcastically commenting on the fellow. See, Varuna has, Lord Indra has cursed us, and there is no rain to be there. And why you are still plowing? See, whenever the curse is over, Varuna may give the rain. Once Indra is blowing the honk, he may give. And by that time, I will forget the art of plowing. So for that only, I am practicing this art. This was the reply given by the farmer. On hearing this, Indra thought, oh, if we are not blowing the honk, and if we forget the art of blowing honk, Varuna will not go for rain. So let us practice that. He started just blowing. And once hearing the blow by the Indra, Varuna went and just rained the village. Why I am telling this story in the sense, if you forget your skill, you are gone. This is going to be the biggest problem the entire world is going to face in future. If we still go for everything online, especially skill sectors, for subjects which are not requiring skills, which are more of other side, it may be possible. But wherever there is practical point or practical oriented skills, it will be very difficult for us. In spite of all the advancement we came in, right? I can say my colleagues from zoology may be knowing, or even botany people may accept. When we were early stage lecturers during 93 or 94, for every batch of our student, I used to purchase around 100 cockroaches. You know, I am an entomologist. People used to call me as a bug man. Whenever I go to, especially countries like America, when I introduce myself as an entomologist, the faces will shrink. Oh, you are a bug man. Because for entomology means in America, it is bug. So in every class, we used to get 100 cockroaches. Every cockroach will be given to a student. They have to dissect open the cockroach. Then came the restrictions from Ministry of Environment and Forestry. We stopped doing dissections, whether it is going to be frog dissection in zoology lab or cockroach dissection in entomology lab. And we went for all virtual things. And many of our postgraduate students, once they are coming in for their research study or doctoral students, we find it very difficult asking them to do some histological studies. Whenever I'm asking him to do the dissection, his fingers will be shaking like this. I used to say, hey, I am 50 plus. See my hand. It's like a surgeon's hand because I am skilled. I would have done almost 1,000 dissections in my service, minimum. This is what the skill is really needed, which our students may miss once we go for such a things, right? So on the last one, again, I come back to the cheat technology. Next, please. Again, the god Google Underwear, I used to say. Yesterday night, or day before yesterday, I was searching the Google. I just typed HO. HO, you can see that. That is alone will be white in color. All the other things will be already given by Google. When I type HO, I was about to type as how to cheat in exam. I just typed the first two letters HO. The other things have been suggested by the Google. You can see. That too, see that. There are many things. It may be Hotstar or Holy. Many HO things may be there. How to create a bomb or how to cook chapati. Many things can come. But they were not being searched by our student community. See that? How to cheat in online exam on Google Meet. How to cheat in online exam on Zoom. How to cheat online exam when camera is on. So these are all the things that has been done by our student community. They give the all informations. Next, please. This is by one great Australian private institution. Iris. They have given 10 ways how students can cheat in online examination, that too even proctored examinations, if it is not fully functional artificial intelligence proctored. And right now, every day I will get an email or at least one phone call, either this or that, from private operators contacting me, sir, you are going to conduct online examination, we will be providing our software. This is the cost of the software. This is the app. Every such communication is being sent to us. And I'm not sure about their quality. The students can share their screens. They can use high-tech equipments like Bluetooth. They can go for connected devices to their laptop or computers. They can have auto coding softwares all available. You can simply give the codings which are there. The auto coding software will give the answers. And the navigation to unauthorized sites, as I did, they can just go and get things done. And impersonation, use of external devices like a hard disk or USB, and family and friends present inside the room, that too begin the camera. And I heard one story where something like a prompter in some of our TV channels, during those early period Doordarshan days, I used to amaze by without seeing the script, how our prompters are reading, how our news readers are reading. Then we realized that there was a screen where the news will be running and they'll be just seeing them and then reading. Such facilities are being done by the parents now. Whenever they sit for online examination with the webcam on, even in schools, parents are going behind the cam and then just showing either with the tab or mobile phone, this is the answer, just see. This is what is actually the problem. Copy pasting or shortcut keyboards methods and deliberately going out from the test. This is another practice that is being followed by the students deliberately, citing network issues. Once you deliver the question papers, they will be online, and after some 10-15 minutes, they will go offline. They will cite, sir, power failure, no internet connectivity, and after some 20 minutes or 30 minutes, they will come back. By the time, they would have prepared the answers and ready for completing the answers. This is what is actually prevailing now. Next, please. Again, the internet is there to help us. The grade B is a site. How to cheat in online exams, proctored exams. Such informations are readily available, and there are many private providers. Next, please, sir. This is another international company, Mercer and Metal, where they actually go for giving the input as well as a solution. 10 clever ways students cheat online. How best you could able to prevent them. So everything is being there in the internet. In spite of all these things, we have to go along. So the process seems to be little complicated, and we are still in the infant stage, I can say. We are not far ahead. Next, please. So, well, there are two photographs. Some of you may guess very clearly, the left photograph is our university, and the right photograph is Madurai. Even Shaktivel was asking me, sir, what is the meaning for this photograph? One of our senior professors who served in our university, he used to say, he hails from Madurai. I think some of you may be knowing about Madurai. It's a big pilgrimage town in Tamil Nadu, which is famous for Meenakshi temple, the goddess Shakti. And whenever we go to Madurai, on any day, there are a lot of temples and other things. In any place, there will be one festival going on. All the 365 days, there will be festival. And this professor used to comment like this. See, when you go to Madurai, every day there will be one festival going on. If you come to Annamalai University, every day there will be one examination going on. Because 10 faculties, you can think of, that's a condition. In spite of the COVID issue, we were conducting examinations. Next, please. We need to follow all the COVID SOP. The sanitizer has to be kept, the mask has to be provided, and the students cannot sit as they were sitting earlier. So for every desk, there should be one person, one desk should be left free. Think of whether it will be possible physically. Next, please. You can very well see that. The first photograph which I showed you and this one. For every table, we have to go for something like a triangular fashion to keep the social distance. And many of our staff members are much reluctant to attend either invigilation duty or otherwise supporting staff. This is the biggest problem. When we were having the peak of the pandemic last year, our medical examinations are to be conducted. And Annamalai University Medical Hospital was the only hospital for COVID treatment in our district, Kadalur district. So the only government hospital was Annamalai University's Medical College Hospital. The staff are to be from the medical hall college, and the students are still from there. Finally, the students who are attending house surgeon duty, they may be also coming for the examination. Most of our non-teaching staff are virtually fearing to go for attending to the examination. This is what the problem we really faced. And we need to go beyond what we were thinking. As an administrator, I can simply call a section officer or a superintendent or an assistant registrar in our office, go and attend to the duty, come with the attendance slip. Just by the flick of my fingers, I can order them. That was my power. But can I do it right now? Because they are fearing for their life. I have to boost up their psychology. Not only their physical presence, but their psychological presence. Next, please. See, all such things have to be done by an administrator. We were supporting them with some sort of psychological boosting things. It is nothing but disbursement of Kabasura Kudinir, the medicine that is being recommended by Tamil Nadu government, is Siddha medicine, to be recommended for the COVID treatment. So we used to distribute to our own staff members. We used to arrange for all these things. This is how we have to change their mindset, right? So this is what I can simply say about our practical experiences. Next, please. So this is one of the quotes which I received from my colleagues. The problem that my respected participants are facing, you can go through that. Some of you would have received it in social media, from chalk to chat, from blackboard to whiteboard, from real to virtual. The journey was difficult, but you did not give up. That's the biggest thing. From notebook to screenshot, from teacher assessment to self-assessment. Again, the transmission. But though many of the industries failed, the teaching fraternity never failed. We still keep the hope to deliver the best to our student community. This is what is actually the spirit of the teachers of our country. Next, please. Well, I used to complete my presentation always with these 3 points. Have the confidence. The story of a small boy coming with an umbrella when there was a prayer being conducted for want of rain. He had the hope when all others were not having. That is what actually the confidence is. Next, please. The trust. Trust yourself. If you throw 1 year-old baby on the air, the baby will be laughing like anything. If I throw you, if I just lift you little, you will be shouting like anything, hey, leave it, I'm not going to fall down, leave it. But the baby will be happily enjoying it because the baby trusts you, that you will hold the baby. Third, next please. Every day we go to sleep. No one is assured of tomorrow, but still we plan for tomorrow. This is the hope we have. So have the confidence, have the faith, trust, and never lose your hope, right? I used to conclude with this Tolstoy statement. Everybody wants to change the world without realizing that we need to change ourselves. So try to cultivate this in your mind. Next, please. So with that pursuit, if you want to fly, create these processes, right? So if you can't fly, at least run. If you can't run, at least walk. If you can't walk, at least crawl, but keep moving. Why I am saying in the sense, teachers are the first learners. We should learn all these transformations before the students communities are knowing. Only then we could able to teach them, right? So thank you for your patient hearing. And if you have any things to discuss or to interact or to suggest, I always welcome. Thank you for your patient hearing. Good luck. Any discussion?
Now session is over. Please offline and online viewers ask your queries to sir. Any queries from viewers?
Sir, good afternoon, sir. It is not a questioning, really appreciating. Because we had a wonderful lecture. This is second lecture with you, sir. I do remember the first lecture we had in our virtual classroom, and this is second lecture. You are really ignited. You explained the burning, the reality, the ground reality you explained. So my small doubts, sir. What are the problems during the examination, conducting examination, what are the real problems we are facing, number one, from student side? Number two, how you encountered immediately for that situation, how to overcome the situation. You suggested many problems and how the students are cheating, all everything. But real problem, during the conduct of examination, what they really creating the problem and how you encountered all of a sudden. That is my basic, yes, sir.
You are asking for physical examination?
Yes, sir, yes. Sir.
Okay.
Physical as well as even online.
Yes.
Okay.
So the problems we face, as I listed from both ends, the dwindling integrity of the students. Students are not ready to really learn on most occasions. Always, as a teacher, almost I have completed, imagine 93, in the sense more than 27, 28 years of my experience. I can divide our student community into three categories. Always, whether it is going to be 1993 or 2023. Almost after 30 years, even after 30 years, the student community remains only within these three categories. I used to always say 50, 25, 25. 50, 25, 25. Or in other terms as 2:1:1. Whatever you say as a mathematics professor. 50% of the students will be average students. 25% of the students will be extraordinary brilliance. 25% of the students will be notorious below average. I say this even after 2023 or 3023, even after 100 years, if you just imagine when the human race is persisting, this is going to be the ratio. Our job is to bother for the 50%. 25% of brilliant students, they just need little information or little support, they will come up on their own. The rest 50% of the students, they are cat on the wall. If you let them loose, they will go with the other 25%. Success of a teacher remains only in this 50%. You bring them to this level. And the rest to 25% will be problem makers. It will be very difficult for us as teachers to manage them. I truly accept. And they will have all the things. Even, when we captured the Arrear group, we had all the problems. Every day there were threats, phone calls to us. And from the students' point of view, if you see, whether it is going to be physical examination or online examination, they want some perfection. Perfection in the sense, the information that they want. On most of the occasions, even we fail to get them well informed when the hall ticket will be distributed to them, when they are going to come, whether it is going to be physical examination or online examination. The information what they need has to be supplied to them. This is the problem students face from their side. Besides other socio-economic issues, which I am not taking into consideration. As I said, fee payment, It all depends upon, some students can pay the fees, whereas the other students may find it difficult. These are all the problems from their end. From our end, managing the 25%, that is a problem that lies in the skill of a teacher. And right, it is not an administrator's success. It is a success of the individual invigilators. Whenever I am going for a class, whenever I am conducting classes for a semester, I always insist that try to have the maximum personal contact with the student. And if that person is going as an examiner, students will be perfectly sitting for the examination. They will not be creating anything. So this depends upon the individual invigilator's integrity and his attitude towards the teachers, which helps us to curb some of the malpractices that are being conducted in the physical examination. But if you are going in for online examination, right, as I started my lecture, I am again repeating the same. The human touch is last. The human touch is last. I have seen many of our invigilators who will capture a student who is doing malpractice, copying with a bit of paper or something like that. They will capture, they will shout like anything. And on hearing the noise, whenever we go and just ask them, but sir, let us leave this fellow, sir. He's a good fellow. Let us leave him. And that fellow will be a slave for that particular teacher in his entire career. The students are there to commit errors. We are there to correct them. Let us try to correct the 50 and the 25. The rest to 25 again, you can bring them to this area. It all depends upon the individual teacher's attitude. But these are all, I can say, as the problems on both the ends, from the student side as well as from our side, besides what I was listing from the administrator's point of view. Right? Am I fulfilled your doubt? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah. Yes.
2080 system is there.
Yes.
So which one is better for internal and external evaluation?
It's again a
So
$1 million
depends on
question.
the local needs.
Yeah. There are certain restrictions given by the statutory bodies. For example, UGC, or if it is going to be medical council, or pharmacy council, or nursing council, or for example, in agriculture, we have Indian Council of Agriculture Research. Indian Council of Agriculture Research never insists for external evaluation. Whereas medical council is insisting for external evaluation 50-50. It depends upon the institution. For example, in Annamalai University, since last year, we started completely internal evaluation for on-campus programs. Only for the off-campus program, we are going in for external evaluation. Again, once you go for the new education policy also, all these things will be just having a drastic transformation. Because what is actually the intention is, being a teacher myself, how my students' performance will be evaluated by another teacher who is coming from a different place. We have faced all those problems. For example, in agriculture, our postgraduate students will be submitting their dissertation. It's a thesis work which is spanning for 4 semesters, right from the first semester to the final semester. The dissertation will be 150 to 175 pages. It will be a complete research program like MPhil. When we are sending this dissertation for external evaluation to a person outside the state, for example, from Annamalai University, if I'm sending it to University of Agriculture Sciences, Bangalore, the nature of cultivation of paddy in Bangalore will be totally different from the cultivation of paddy in Chidambaram. For us, it is going to be lowland paddy, where which will be growing in a clay soil. Whereas in Bangalore, it will be upland paddy in laterite soil. So the perception of the examiner itself will be totally different. He will be asking too many number of questions, which is not at all relevant to this work, to this location. So this is what is now being raised. I know about this, my students' capacity. I know about what I taught them. So I am the correct person to evaluate them. This is the approach now going on. So to go ahead with this, we introduced this system from May 20 examination onwards, wherein for all the on-campus programs, It is completely internal evaluation. Again,
Excuse
the
me.
same concept is being followed. Whenever you have dual evaluation, one internal and one external, what we have done is, being a big university, the course teacher will be one examiner and one more person from the same department who is experienced or expertise in that field, he will be coming as the second examiner. This is what we are following, and we need such transformations. Please.
In such case, for internal examination, is there any fixed parameters to evaluate them?
Definitely,
What? Yes.
definitely all the parameters are there. Every day, what you are asking for the quantum of evaluation, or what do you mean by that?
I like that only. Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Quantum.
every day we need to evaluate only 60 papers per day.
Not the question papers. Sir.
Hmm.
For internal evaluation,
Yeah,
so is there any priority for some practicals like that? Attendance,
I could not able to get your
continuity,
query.
marks into
Yes. Yes, yes.
like that. Any other parameters? Internal, indirect
No,
parameters.
it depends. It depends again.
Yes.
If you are asking me, we are a multi-faculty university. For arts and science programs, we have the same system. 2 internal assessments, 1 seminar, and then 2 assignments. This is what we are following in arts and science faculty. In medical faculty, it is completely practical oriented. It is totally different. In agriculture faculty, we don't at all have this system. What we call as mid-semester examination. Mid-semester examination has a mark value of 20 out of 100. 20 marks will be allotted for mid-semester examination, which is only one examination, which is theory oriented. He will be sitting for the examination for 1 hour. The course teacher himself will conduct the examination and he will give the mark. And for the final examination, what we say is the end semester examination. For agriculture, I'm saying the 80 marks will be remaining, The 80 will be divided into 2 as 40-40 for theory and practical. The practical examination will be conducted by the course teacher along with one more examiner. The 40 marks will be apportioned for skill-oriented activities like dissectioning or any other thing, or physical identification, and it will have the component of record and assignment or specimens. If you are going to be botany, we will be having herbarium and all those things. It will having its value. So it depends upon that. And if you are an autonomous body, you can develop your own method of assessment. Again, this is not a rule. Again, you have to look in for the respective regulatory authority. If you are going for arts and science, look for UGC. If you are going in for agriculture, look for ICR. Like that, you have to follow. Whatever the suggestions given by the concerned regulatory body, you have to follow. Yes, sir.
Excuse me, sir. It's a nice presentations of yours, sir. We are really enriched by your presentation. I'm having a doubt, sir. So what is the current distance learners in your university, sir?
Current?
Distance learners number, sir.
Current number?
Yes, sir.
Very sorry to say, this year it was very less admission.
Okay,
it is nearing 50,000 now.
Oh, yeah. So
earlier we used to have more than 1 lakh
sir.
per year admission, around 1.25 or 1.30. That will be the admission enrollment. But because of the pandemic and all those delays and every problem, now we have completed our admissions almost 2 months ago. It was just 48,000 and odd.
Okay, thank you, sir. So another doubt. Your university goes for approval of UGC every year for research programs, particularly?
Yes, we get, it is completely UGC funded. All our UGC programs are funded. We have FIST departments, SAP departments.
So you go for research program approval, sir, every year?
Yeah.
Okay, it's a compulsory for every
yes.
distance education.
Yes.
Okay, right. Thank you, sir.
Yes. We used to change our curriculum almost once in 3 years for undergraduate programs. We have a minimum principle saying that at least one batch should come out with one particular curriculum. But now it is totally changed. For example, we had revisions almost every year. And as an administrator, I am having the biggest problem in facing that. Earlier, we used to say that one batch should go out. If you introduce one new curriculum, at least one batch of students should go out, complete the program. After that, you can go for the next revision. But now we have 2019 regulations, we have 2020 regulations. This is a problem we practically face. And I cannot go and say to my Board of Studies chairpersons that you cannot do that. Still, they say the field is changing. The subject is changing. So when I presented during 2018 or 19, it was like this. But now I need a revision. For example, if you are from computer science, you know, every day it is changing, or technology. They go for that. But that's a real problem. We still insist that at least one batch should go out. But you can have minor revisions in the syllabus, not the complete curriculum. You can go for some improvements, which you can place in your Board of Studies and get it approved by the competent authorities like Academic Council or syndicate of your university, and then you can implement it.
So though it is 10 to 20% change in the curriculum, we have to keep the regulations in which the students study.
Yes,
So it's becoming very difficult for
Very,
the
very
examination
difficult.
branch to manage all those courses.
as an administrator, I said, you know, our examination computer persons, they will have from A to Z, regulation A, regulation B, regulation C. Now they have come to I or J, which are now running. Because I need to maintain that. If a student is having supplement arrear papers or backlog papers, those students who registered almost 6 or 7 years ago, they'll be still there on the roll. So almost by the time there would have been some 4 revisions. So I need to maintain 4 regulations.
Same problem we are facing now, sir.
Yes, this
Thank
is a
you, sir.
problem, real problem, but I cannot simply say no. There are genuine cases, right? Out of 100 suggestions coming from Board of Studies, there may be only 50 genuine reasons, genuine changes which are needed. The 50 may be, people may have an intention just to change, to show their presence. That's also another problem. We will just look into it and we will try to convince with the concerned dean or other authorities that these are all necessarily not needed. They may be just changing one word or two words in the syllabus and they will say that it is a new thing. For all those things, we will say let it remain. After some 3 years, you can do it. But if they go for the real changes in the system and the syllabus or the regulations, we have to accept it. But you need to clear the official process from the competent bodies of the university. Yes. So thank you.
Now I request today's session portier, Amlata Madam Garu, to sum up the discussion.
Good afternoon to all offline and online participants. In this session, Sir has given an excellent talk on paradigm shift on examinations. Sir started from paper registration and how this paper registration started transformed into online registration, and then explained the problems of invigilation and surveillance, various ways of cheating during examination by students, and enlightened us with the different devices in the which are used for malpractice, and also he emphasized on the detailed explanation on conventional system of evaluation and how the actual process is taking place in conventional system and how the digital evaluation takes place. And he analyzed the advantages of digital evaluation, and he has given detailed description on pen and paper examination, how it is shifted to virtual examinations due to COVID pandemic, and he explained different types of virtual exams. Sir emphasized the advantages of proctored online examinations, and which will enhance credibility and which saves money and time. And online examination requirements are explained, how online examinations are actually taking place. And then Sir discussed whether this e-exams is a boon or ban. and explained the difficulties of e-exams and emphasized the drawbacks of e-examination system. And this is because we cannot test the skill of the student and showed different ways of cheating in online exams too. Even though the problems are there in any system, we have to continue our journey. Let us move to change the attitude of the, let us move to change the attitude of the students in taking examinations. Thank you very much, sir. Certainly we are enlightened with your lecture, and you came all the way from Chidambaram and spent your valuable time here for us. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, sir, for the excellent and extempo lecture on pandemic-driven paradigm shifts in education system. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. And we have few announcements for both online and offline participants. Those who have not completed the quiz number 4, it will be open now, and we will give a feedback form link by 2 o'clock. Kindly send it by 3 so that we can have some discussion on it in the valedictory function. Thank you very much, and we'll join for the next session by 2:10 p.m., please.